I've always been a bit slow on the uptake. So when my biological parents finally brought me home, and the girl who had taken my place, Lila, rushed forward with an exaggeratedly sweet smile, I didn't immediately understand what was happening. "Oh, you poor thing," she cooed, eyes wide with fake concern. "You must have been through so much. Here, take my room. It's the biggest one." My parents looked at her with admiration, clearly impressed by her apparent generosity. I, on the other hand, nodded so eagerly it might have looked frantic. "Yes, that's perfect. I love big rooms. I can help you move." The room fell silent the instant the words left my mouth. Lila's expression flickered. Something dark passed over her face before she quickly hid it. The moment I entered my real family's home, Lila, the girl pretending to be the daughter, was already there, smiling broadly, as if she owned the place. "This is my bedroom," she said, sweeping her arm across the room. "Here's my study, and over there is the music room. And that's my brother's room." She paused, pretending to be disappointed. "It looks like the only space left is the little storage closet," she said, glancing at our parents. My mother wrung her hands nervously. "Stella, the house is a bit crowded right now. Maybe you could." Lila cut her off, her tone dripping with false kindness. "Stella, you've been through so much all these years. Please take my room. It's the least I can do." Our parents beamed at her, clearly proud. I couldn't help smiling, nodding so eagerly my head bobbed. "Okay, that sounds great. I'll take it. Let me help you pack." Silence fell. Everyone froze. For a brief moment, Lila's face darkened, but she quickly composed herself. I dropped my backpack and suitcase and immediately started gathering her things. Lila's eyes glistened with tears as she turned to our parents, voice trembling. "Mom, won't she be scared, all alone in a room that big?" My mother, realizing the implication, hurried over and took my arm. "Stella, there are plenty of other rooms. Why don't you choose a different one?" I stopped and looked at her. "But you said the only space left was the storage closet," I said, glancing at Lila. "Wait, does this mean you don't actually want me to have the room?" Both parents turned sharply toward Lila. A blush crept up her neck. She frowned but couldn't admit that her generosity was fake. "No, that's not what I meant," she stammered. A wide smile spread across my face, dimples showing. "Mom, she already offered. She can't take it back now. Could you move, please? You're in my way." Lila froze in the doorway, silent tears rolling down her cheeks. My mother's own eyes welled up in sympathy. I ignored them and got back to work. In no time, I had packed all of Lila's things. I pointed toward the tiny closet at the end of the hall. "So, is that where your things are going?" Lila gritted her teeth, shot me a venomous look, and stormed off without a word. I didn't understand her reaction, but I've always been helpful, so I moved her belongings into the storage closet myself. Later that evening, my brother Leo came home. The moment Lila saw him, she threw herself into his arms, sobbing. "Leo, she took my room. She took it." His brow furrowed instantly. He looked at me, eyes filled with rage. When Leo arrived, I stood and greeted him politely. "Hello, brother." His expression was cold as ice. "I only have one sister, and it's Lila."
"Don't call me that."
My eyes widened. "Oh, so you're not really their son either?" His face twisted with rage. "Stella, what on earth are you talking about? Just because you share blood with them doesn't mean you can replace Lila. Family isn't only about blood." Lila peeked up at him, a triumphant little smile tugging at her lips. "See, Leo? You're the only one who really cares about me." I nodded in agreement. That's true. Her biological father is gone, executed, so he can't exactly be part of her life. And her mother is in prison, though maybe there's a chance she'll be out one day. The moment the words left my mouth, both Lila and Leo froze. Lila went pale, sweat beading on her forehead. Her eyes rolled back, and she collapsed into Leo's arms. "Lila!" Leo's shout echoed through the house. I rushed over, trying to pat her cheeks, searching for any way to bring her around, but nothing worked. My parents came running down the stairs. "What happened?" Leo, holding her tightly, shot me a glare filled with pure hatred and shoved me to the ground. "This is all your fault, Stella. If anything happens to her, I'll never forgive you." He stormed out with her in his arms. My parents turned to me, eyes sharp. "Stella," my father demanded, "what did you say to make her faint like that?" I looked down, guilt painted across my face. I mentioned her biological parents, her father being executed, and her mother in prison. I think it was too much for her to handle. My mother staggered back, horror in her eyes, collapsing onto the sofa. How could you say such things? I blinked, confused. Wait, you're not supposed to talk about it? By the time we reached the hospital, Lila was awake, sobbing dramatically in her bed while Leo comforted her. Don't be silly, he whispered, stroking her hair. You're my real sister. Stella is just some orphan they brought back from the countryside. Once she turns 18, I'll make sure Mom and Dad send her away. Lila looked up, her eyes swollen from crying. Really, Leo? He smiled reassuringly. When have I ever lied to you? The moment she saw me, Lila scrambled to her knees, hands outstretched. Stella, I'm so sorry. I didn't know my birth parents caused you pain. Please, just hit me. She grabbed my hand, pressing it to her own face. Leo's furious shout cut through the air. Stella, what are you doing? I stood frozen, memories flashing unbidden. I remembered Martha, Lila's mother, and how she used to make me strike her when I was a child. Every mistake, every misstep meant a beating after forcing me to hit her. Bamboo canes, bruises, screaming. My childhood had been endless pain. Police intervention only made the punishment worse. Eventually, I learned I wasn't her daughter at all, and she was arrested, though she never revealed where she had taken me from. I ended up in an orphanage. Now, in the hospital, Lila was sobbing, forcing my hand against her face. Hit me. It's all my fault. Something inside me snapped. I grabbed her hair and, in a blind fury, lashed out, slapping her again and again. Years of anger and resentment at Martha's cruelty poured into every strike. Lila's screams echoed through the hospital corridor. My parents and Leo tried to pull me off, but I was strong. I didn't stop until her face was swollen and purple. Then the world blurred and I collapsed. As I came to, a doctor's voice reached me faintly. Stella is suffering from severe emotional detachment disorder. She can't cope with extreme provocation. Were you aware? Doctor, what is that? It's a psychological injury from long-term exposure to trauma and hostility. But she seems so cheerful. That's exactly what makes it dangerous. Silence fell. Leo leaned against the doorframe. I knew she was faking it. Mental illness is just an excuse. I only trust science. She's probably just using this to get rid of Lila. Don't believe her. With that, he turned and left. A gentle voice pulled me out of sleep. Stella, sweetheart, wake up and eat a little. My mother sat beside my bed, her expression soft yet uncertain. She handed me a bowl of porridge, the steam curling into the air. The smell alone made my stomach twist, but hunger won. I took the bowl and drank half before setting it on the nightstand. Are you already full? She asked quietly. I shook my head. No. Martha never let me finish a whole bowl. If I did, she'd beat me. Her eyes filled with tears as she looked at the half-eaten food. Oh, Stella, you've suffered so much. I smiled and shook my head quickly. It's fine. Really. I'm used to it. When we returned home, Leo was waiting in the hallway, his expression dark. Stella, he said coldly, Lila's a gentle person. I want you to stay away from her. Don't stir up trouble again. If you do that, maybe I'll consider accepting you as family. My mother's tone hardened instantly. Leo, how dare you speak to your sister that way? Lila was at fault too. She provoked Stella. My father added firmly, what happened yesterday stays in the past. From now on, you'll treat your real sister with respect. Understood? Leo clenched his jaw, anger burning behind his eyes. I just smiled brightly. Okay. How far should I stay away from her? 3 feet? 5. My parents looked at me, guilt flickering across their faces. Stella, you don't have to. Leo muttered under his breath as he walked away. Let's see how long you can keep pretending. That night at dinner, Lila and I met again at the table. Her eyes were watery, her face full of timid sadness, while Leo stood protectively beside her as if I were a threat. Without a word, I carried my plate to the far end of the long dining table, making sure to keep plenty of distance. The housekeeper hesitated. Miss, can you reach the dishes from there? I smiled politely. Nope. Everyone froze, unsure what to do next. My mother stood and came to me. Stella, darling, come sit closer. My father set his chopsticks down. Stella, come here and eat properly. I looked up, glancing toward Lila. But Leo told me to stay away from her. I can't. Lila's face crumpled into despair. It's my fault. I'll go instead, so Stella can eat. She stood dramatically, waiting for someone to stop her. No one did. Her expression hardened, and she shot me a venomous glare before storming away. I grinned and picked up my plate, moving to her empty seat. She's gone. I can eat here now. Leo shot to his feet, fury twisting his face. He strode over and smacked the plate from my hands. You've already driven her off once. Are you happy now? Does she not even deserve dinner anymore because of you? I stared at the rice scattered across the floor, my chest tightening. Tears stung my eyes. You shouldn't waste food. If you waste food, they feed you to the dogs. When I was 7, I had once spilled a bowl of thin rice gruel. Martha made me lick it off the filthy floor. My tongue caught a shard of broken porcelain, slicing open a wound that filled my mouth with blood. For a moment, I thought maybe I'd die from it. But I didn't. Later that day, she dragged me to the dog keeper's yard and threw me into the kennel. The dogs tore at me until the neighbors heard the screams and pulled me out. When they brought me home, Martha was calmly cracking sunflower seeds. She barely looked up. Still alive? Guess it's a lesson learned. Don't waste food. Now, I dropped to my knees, trying to scoop the rice back into my hands. Shards of the broken plate bit into my palms. The taste of blood returned to my mouth, metallic and familiar. My mother ran to me, tears streaming. Stella, no, don't eat it, please don't. Leo froze, his face paling. Stella, you. Before he could finish, my father crossed the room and slapped him hard. Stella is your sister, he thundered. Apologize to her. Now. Leo's lips trembled, but no words came. The next morning, my parents enrolled me at the same private academy as Lila. After orientation, I excused myself to the restroom. I had barely stepped inside when something heavy splashed down from above, a bucket of grimy red water. It drenched me from head to toe, soaking through my uniform. My white blouse turned nearly transparent, streaked with pink stains that clung to my skin. As I stood there dripping, I heard a chorus of laughter echo down the hall. When I emerged, a group of boys gawked openly. One of them snickered, "Wow, she's so flat." I glanced down, shrugged, and said evenly, "Yeah, I guess I am." That shut them up fast. Back in class, puddles formed around my chair, but I kept taking notes. When the bell rang, everyone stared, whispering behind their hands. "Stella," the teacher said gently, "go change into something dry." "I don't have anything else to wear," I replied. Her sigh carried exhaustion. "Go to the principal's office." By the time my mother arrived, I was sitting there with a towel over my shoulders and a cup of hot water in my hands. Seeing me like that made her eyes fill instantly. My father's voice was sharp enough to cut glass. "Who did this?" "I'm not sure," I said softly. "Maybe someone bumped a bucket by accident." "How could that possibly be an accident?" my mother demanded. The principal, clearly nervous about angering donors, brought up the security feed. The footage revealed Lila's friends sneaking into the restroom right after me, carrying the bucket. Minutes later, they came out laughing, joining Lila waiting by the door. "Those girls hang around Lila," I said quietly. "Maybe it wasn't on purpose." My parents exchanged a look full of grief and guilt. When we got home, my mother insisted on helping me wash the red dye off. I protested at first. I was 16 after all, but she wouldn't hear it. I ended up lying on my stomach in the bathtub as she carefully rubbed my skin with a soft cloth. She froze halfway through, and I heard a sharp gasp. "Mom? Is it not coming off?" Her voice broke. "Don't worry, honey. I'll get you clean. I'll make it all go away." Her trembling hands were so gentle that I eventually drifted to sleep. When I opened my eyes again, I was in bed, warm beneath a blanket. Then I heard shouting downstairs. "Lila, when will you stop tormenting Stella?" My mother's voice rang out. "I don't know what you mean," Lila cried, shaking her head. "Don't lie to me. You were behind that stunt at school." She sneered through her tears. "And you believe her over me?" My mother shoved her phone toward her, playing the video. Lila's eyes widened. "You pulled the security tapes?" Then she stammered. "It wasn't me. It was Jessica and the others. They just wanted to help me. I didn't tell them to do it." The sound of the slap echoed through the room. "Stella is your sister," my mother hissed. Lila's hand flew to her cheek. "I've been your daughter for 16 years, and you hit me? Dad, are you really going to stand there and let her?" My father's face was grim. "Stella is our daughter too, our real one. Lila collapsed, sobbing. That's when Leo came in. Seeing her crying on the floor, he immediately rushed to her side. Mom, Dad, what's wrong with you two? Lila has been your daughter for 16 years. Don't let that girl twist you around. My mother showed him the video. He watched it silently, then looked up, his eyes flicking between Lila and me standing on the stairs. Leo, Lila said through tears, clutching his arm, I never meant to hurt her. Jessica and the others acted on their own. I should have stopped them, I know. It's all my fault, he sighed, rubbing her back. I know. You'd never do something cruel on purpose. Then he glared at our parents. Lila's been part of this family her whole life. You should know her heart better than anyone. Don't let someone manipulate you. He took her hand and turned to leave. If she can't stay, then neither will I. My mother's voice cut through the air like ice. This is Stella's home. If Lila can't accept her, then she doesn't belong here. She stole a life that was never hers to begin with. She has no right to drive anyone out. Leo turned back sharply. She didn't steal anything. It was her parents who made the switch. She's just as much a victim as Stella. My mother let out a bitter, broken laugh. A victim? She stormed up the stairs, grabbed my wrist, and pulled me down beside her. Then, with trembling hands, she lifted the back of my shirt. If Lila is the victim, then tell me, what does that make Stella? The one who deserved to die. Leo's breath hitched. His face went white as he stared at the network of scars covering my back. His lips moved soundlessly. Those marks, they're real? I turned slowly, letting my shirt fall back into place. It's nothing, I said, trying to sound casual. That was a long time ago. Martha did it. I was late with chores, and I never knew how hard to press when she had me give her massages. Leo released Lila and moved toward me, each step purposeful. He set his hands lightly on my shoulders. Stella, he whispered, voice thick, do those scars still hurt? I smiled, dimples showing. Not anymore. I cocked my head, then added, but why are you crying? No one's hitting you now. Tears fell freely from his face, and he wrapped me in a fierce hug. Stella, I am so sorry you had to go through that. I shrugged it off with a small grin. It's fine, really. Martha's behind bars. She can't hurt me anymore. Lila watched for a moment, then slipped away to her room without a word. She didn't come down for dinner, and Leo went up to fetch her. He knocked for a long time, and when there was no answer, he forced the door open. Lila lay on the floor, wrists cut, blood spreading around her. She refused to go to the hospital, instead crawling to our parents and clinging to their legs. Mom, Dad, I was wrong, she begged. My birth parents did this, not Stella. Forgive me, please. I'll be good to her. Our parents tried to pull away, but she held on desperately. Let go, Lila, my mother said, voice tired. I knelt beside her and eased her fingers open one by one. They told you to let go, I'll help you, I said softly. Lila turned a pleading face to Leo, but he looked away. If that's all, let's eat, someone said, and the table slowly filled again. Lila had to stand and let the housekeeper bandage her wrists before she rejoined us. After that night, Leo changed. He hovered, the way adults do when they think attention equals protection, treating me like a little kid so nothing could reach me. He took me on shopping sprees, drove me to school every day, and even insisted on checking my homework. Lila still rode with us to school, but Leo's warmth vanished around her, replaced by a cool distance. One evening after tutoring, the driver collected us. Halfway home, Lila announced she wanted something from a food truck and persuaded me to get out. We walked through darker streets, then down narrower alleys, until the light thinned and the area opened into a deserted junkyard. There were no food trucks. Where's the food? I asked. Lila's laugh had gone hollow. You are the food tonight, Stella, for the incinerator. I turned to go, but rough figures stepped out from behind piles of metal and trash. Lila melted back into the shadows, watching. It's your fault, she snarled, voice full of hate. If you'd never come here, everything would have been mine. You stole my life. I dropped my backpack and ran, but a big man grabbed me, hoisted me up, then slammed me onto the gravel. They kicked me without mercy, my ribs burning, breath ripping out of me. In the chaos, I managed to call Leo. Stella, what's happening? His voice sounded distant. Help me, I said, before a boot crushed the phone underfoot. A man yanked me up by the collar, smiling cruelly. Tomorrow you'll be ash in the incinerator, just like trash. Let's see how the princess fares then. They threw me down again and again. Under the pale light, Lila's face was calm, triumphant, the same kind of malice I had once seen in her father. The memory fit too well. When I was 6, Lila's biological father was arrested for trafficking. Before his execution, Martha took me to see him. Behind the glass, he grinned at me, a horrifying, twisted smile that made my stomach turn. "You," he said, eyes wild. "You're the reason I'm dying. You women are poison. I'll never forgive you." I screamed and tried to look away, but Martha held my head still, forcing me to watch as his lifeless body was carried out. "You killed your father," she whispered close to my ear, her voice like a curse. "You're a wicked child." After that day, something inside me went silent. I stopped feeling. Words stopped making sense. I could read, but I couldn't understand. I couldn't see what people meant anymore. Now, the metallic taste of blood filled my mouth. My vision blurred, and I was ready to let go when a voice tore through the noise. "Stella." It was Leo. He burst into the chaos like a storm, throwing himself at the men who surrounded me. I was tossed aside, crawling weakly across the ground, searching for an escape. Lila appeared suddenly, stepping into my path, her mouth curled into the same cruel grin her father once wore. Something inside me cracked. Ignoring the pain, I lunged at her, grabbed her by the hair, and slammed her head into a concrete pillar. She screamed, blood trickling down her face, but her cries only pushed me further. I kept going until my strength finally vanished. Lila stumbled away, her face twisted in hatred, and grabbed a rusted iron pipe from the ground. She lifted it above me, ready to bring it down. Before she could strike, Leo stepped between us. The blow landed hard against his head. Blood splattered across my face. He didn't even flinch. With one hand, he wiped the blood from my cheek, then lifted me into his arms and carried me toward the exit. Behind us, Lila's screams echoed through the night. "Leo, you said you'd protect me forever. You can't leave me." He kept walking, never once turning around. Lila staggered after us, stumbling toward the street. A car came racing around the corner. The headlights flared, and then it hit her. When I opened my eyes again, I was in a hospital bed. My family surrounded me, faces tight with worry. "Are you all right, sweetheart?" my mother asked. I smiled faintly. "I'm fine. I used to get hurt worse than this and never saw a doctor. I always got better on my own." They turned away, wiping their eyes. I pouted a little. I don't want to go to school with Lila anymore. She's mean. My mother forced a small smile. "You won't have to. We'll transfer you somewhere else." My father nodded. "From now on, you'll have your own driver. No one will hurt you again." Leo, his head wrapped in bandages, took my hand. "Stella, I don't deserve your forgiveness." I shook my head. "You saved me. I should thank you." His eyes welled up again, red and broken. Then, shouts erupted in the hallway. A nurse burst in, panic in her voice. "Someone's on the roof, threatening to jump." It was Lila. I slipped out of bed and hurried to see my parents running after me. Lila stood on the edge of the rooftop, trembling. When she saw Leo, her face lit with desperate hope. "Leo, please. You'll forgive me, won't you? It wasn't my fault. I was just scared. Scared of losing you, of losing them." Leo's expression didn't change. "Do you really think I'm that blind, Lila?" She froze. He stepped closer, voice calm but sharp. "You stole 16 years from Stella. 16 years she'll never get back. She became numb just to survive. You and your parents did that to her. You're no victim." He took a breath. "From now on, you are not my sister." Lila's composure shattered. She screamed, pounding her fists against the edge. "I am your sister. You promised to protect me. Why does she get everything? She's nothing but a broken fool." Leo covered my ears with his hands and shouted back, "She is not a fool." Lila's sobs grew louder, more frantic. Then her foot slipped. "Help me." The scream ended with a single, heavy sound. She was gone. The family arranged the aftermath quietly. There was no funeral, no grave, no marker, only silence. "She doesn't deserve our name," my mother said. And that was the end of Lila. Soon after, the family decided to move the headquarters of their business overseas. My parents and Leo brought me along. They wanted me to have a fresh start, a place untouched by the past. The doctors warned that my emotional detachment disorder might never fully disappear. It didn't matter. They promised I would never be hurt again. In our new home, my mother filled the garden with my favorite flowers. My father built a swing where I could sit and watch the sun sink below the horizon. Leo drove me to school every day, waiting patiently while catching up on work on his laptop. My mother bought the most expensive scar treatment and carefully applied it to my back each night. Time won't erase everything, she said, but we can learn to embrace a new life. I didn't fully understand her words, but I loved this place. I felt safe. For the first time, I felt free. Slowly, the marks on my back faded, and I began to truly smile. The nightmares ended. No longer did I dream of being beaten, starved, or tossed to the dogs. My nights were filled with laughter, friends, picnics, and horseback rides. At 16, I finally discovered what happiness felt like. I felt strength blossoming from deep within myself. Epilogue, Leo's perspective. The first time I met Stella, Lila complained that she had taken her room. And there she was, sitting on the sofa eating potato chips. It was shocking. No refinement, no grace, so unlike Lila, who had always been poised and elegant. When she called me brother, her eyes held a kind of wide-eyed cluelessness I had never seen. She even asked if I was adopted. I couldn't tell if she was being sarcastic or genuinely ignorant. Either way, it made my blood boil. The moment she caused Lila to faint, I knew there was more to her than met the eye. The doctors said she suffered from severe trauma. Perhaps that explained her blank, unreadable demeanor. I had to pay attention to her, more than I ever had before. When she drove Lila away from the dinner table and tried to pick up the spilled rice despite cuts on her hands, I was struck by both anger and pity. She was only 16. How much had she endured? Lila had always been difficult, always trying to undermine Stella. I wanted peace, for everyone to coexist, but Lila could not tolerate her presence. When I got Stella's call for help, I panicked. I feared losing my real sister all over again. At the junkyard, I found her beaten and unconscious. That day, I realized just how fragile she had been, and how fiercely I needed to protect her. Lila tried to manipulate us with threats of self-harm once more. This time, fate took its course. I suggested relocating the family and the company abroad. My parents agreed immediately. In our new home, Stella thrived. She made friends, joined clubs, and learned new things. Her laughter was pure, innocent, untainted by fear. I promised myself then, and I keep that promise today, I will always protect her, my real sister. I will never let her be hurt again.